There are generally two schools of player. There's usually the alternate player and the economy player. I did discuss this a little bit in Economy Picking Part 1, but for me as a player, I've always loved the sound of alternate picking. I love the kind of dynamic range you can get. I mean, it's much more of an aggressive picking style. But economy picking is at the other end of the spectrum. A lot of economy players tend to be quite soft in their approach to dynamics. And that can be a little bit frustrating at times, especially if you really want to dig in and you want to vary your dynamic range. So for me, I want the best of both worlds. I want to be able to mix alternate picking, the attack and the dynamic range of alternate picking with the other end of the dynamic range with economy picking. And so far it's working great, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about how I achieve that. So I'm going to talk about dynamics. So why is dynamics important to guitar technique? I think it is absolutely essential. One of the main reasons that I think it's essential is that it's a direct route to controlling tension. And I believe that one of the most important aspects of playing the guitar is about controlling tension. How much control do you have over the tension you apply? A lot of players, the tension controls them. They're not in control of the tension. It should be the other way round. You need to be in control of that tension at any given time. So I'm going to talk about those things now and how I apply them and how I practice them. So the first thing I want to talk about is dynamic range. Playing softly and playing loudly and varying our attack. How do we do it? Well, the first thing that I found really useful is to change the way I think about dynamics. Not necessarily the actual resultant dynamic in terms of how you apply the playing, but it's what we do in order to create control over our dynamic range. Now, the way I see it is it's all about string displacement. Now, what do I mean by string displacement? Simply put, it means how much we move the string before we release and play the string. So I'll show you what I mean. I've got my sound. So I'm just going to play an open G string here. I'm just going to play it normally. Okay, now the dynamic range is controlled, in my opinion, by how much we displace the string. In other words, how much we move it before we release it. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to place the pick on the string. This is very similar to planting technique. Make sure you go back, check Economy Picking Part 1. There's a big section on that. You need to cover this before we deal with this. So I'm just going to play the string, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate how much I move the string before I play it. So I'm not going to move the string at all. Well, very slightly. So I'm just going to let the pick fall through the string. Result, very soft attack and quiet note. Okay, you'll also notice that you have to use very little tension. In fact, so little tension that the pick could almost fall out of your fingers. Okay, now we're going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum now. We're going to move the string by placing the pick on the string and moving the string, displacing the string, and then releasing. Get a loud note, don't we? Okay, one thing that's really important here is that I'm not making any movement away from the string to actually play it. I'm not creating momentum at all. I'm already on the string. My pick is already resting on the string, so I don't actually need any movement whatsoever with the right hand to make a soft note or a really loud note. It's all about how much I move the string before I actually play it. It's very similar to the Bruce Lee, 1-inch punch. A lot of people, when they punch, they bring their fist back and they throw their fist like that to punch. But Bruce Lee proved that you didn't need to do that. you could be a short distance away and still get the desired impact. So it's not exactly the same, but it's a similar kind of thing. We're actually already in contact with the string, so we're not moving. All we're doing is moving the string, displacing the string before we play it. Okay. When you apply more tension to that string, you're going to displace it more. So what I realized is I need to have complete control over how much tension I apply, because the more tension I apply, the more I will displace the string, and the more I displace the string, the louder the resultant sound will be. Okay, so that's extremely important. So the way I look at controlling dynamic range is all to do with how much I displace the string, and directly connected to that is the amount of tension I need in order to displace the string. Am I making sense so far? Hopefully I am. So if I want to play a quiet note, I hardly move the string. If I want to play a loud note, I displace the string a considerable amount by applying more tension. But I'm not moving the right hand. You see, economy picking is all about economy of movement. So this proves that you do not have to move your right hand in order to get, or you need to move it very, very minimally. You know, a lot of players, when they play loudly, think that they have to move their hand more. You know, you don't need to do that. Although that's a specific technique that, you know, you want the freedom to be able to do at any given time, because it has a specific sound. But this is the technique I'm talking about is more related to lead guitar playing, and when you're playing you know, faster lines and scalar type stuff, you know. So this is extremely important, the string displacement and being able to control that. Okay, so now we've talked about tension. I want to talk a little bit about something else. I want to talk about the movement of the thumb joint.